still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for other myths. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices. I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. But you know, they wouldn't let you have it any other way. Stepping back from what you lack, the past just pulls you back in again. Save me from myself, it just carries on, just carries on.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the Fans Forum. Welcome to Alan, Darren, Magnus, Adam, Pablo, Kevin, Tom and yourselves at home. I've got an hour chat about what's been going on in the last 7 days, looking back at yesterday's disappointing 0-0 draw at bottom of the table Wolves, and looking ahead to the Champions League game, of course, and the Premier League game against Aston Villa. Alan, a board draw. My prediction, the closest over the course of the weekend. I from the start of last week said I fancied it being a draw against Wolves. I couldn't say any other result because I think at the end of the day, the eyes don't deceive me. Newcastle aren't playing well. They're getting away with murder at times, and a poor result yesterday. And I think the most frustrating thing for me, we don't have George here tonight. He's got a meeting tonight, so he couldn't make it. He will be doing an Ask George tomorrow. But it gives me a chance to at least have my say. And I chose not to go to the game. I had a ticket. I decided to let somebody else go. I passed my ticket on to somebody else. And I watched it on the TV. Different perspective for me for a change. And it was almost like Groundhog Day. Newcastle United didn't have a clue. They can't break a team down as poor as Wolves. It's as simple as that. There's no plan B. We've gone on about this a few times now on various shows on this platform, but there isn't a plan B. There isn't a plan B. There is literally no way of changing it. And the forwards that we've got at the club currently aren't good enough to get on the end of anything. The wingers weren't to blame yesterday. We spent the early part of the season having a pop at the wingers. The wingers did their job yesterday. Voltemada didn't do his job, and neither did Wissa. And that was disappointing. Wissa, okay, we can still give him the benefit of the doubt, although it has been 6 weeks now since Wissa came back into the team. I think saying that he's not fit is pushing it now. He's got to be getting near some kind of match fitness. He's just not getting into the right positions. And Voltemada, 7 games without a goal now, just does not look capable of firing in the Premier League anymore. His heading's poor. He's not getting into the right positions, and it's depressing. And sure as eggs is eggs, Eddie decides to change it with a triple substitution. A triple substitution which hasn't worked the previous times he's done it. Substitutions are supposed to change the game for the better. Now, I'm not going to have a pop at Elanga. I thought Alanga was average yesterday, which is a vast improvement on what he's been playing. I thought Alanga was probably one of the better players on the pitch when he came on. But I didn't see what the substitutions did. I just felt it was so disappointing. And I think my disappointment started probably at the press conference when I heard Eddie Howe say that we haven't really got any money to spend. We haven't got any money to spend. We've got money, enough maybe to sign a defender, but we've got no money to spend in this window. Now, I don't understand why that is. Is it because it's a different financial year? I've got no idea. I'm not a financial man. I've never pretended to be. I never will do. But I don't understand how we've got nothing to spend. Whether are we trying to play some clever game where we're like trying to say, well, I haven't got any money to spend, then we're going to go out and spend it? I bloody hope so, because this team needs investment. This team needs money invested in it now. If we don't invest in this window, I genuinely think that Newcastle's season could be over in a month's time. We'll be out of the FA Cup. We'll be out of the Champions League. We'll be out of the Carabao Cup, and we'll only have Premier League placing to play for. And at this moment in time, does this team look capable of finishing in the Champions League? No, it doesn't. So we are in a hell of a position at the moment, and Eddie's job's on the line. And I don't say those kind of things lightly, but his job is on the line here, because he is the person, whether we like it or not, along with whoever it was, whether it was his nephew in Andy Howe, whether it was Mitchell's replacement in the summer, who at this moment in time we don't really know who was in charge of it once Mitchell left, because we didn't have a sporting director, but Eddie would have had to answer to somebody, and Steve Nixon, of course, but somebody somewhere was involved in those transfers with Eddie Howe. They're to blame for the mess we're in, because looking at the players at the moment in January, we've spent that money we spent in the summer. We've wasted that money. We've wasted it. Wasted it on Alanga. We've wasted it on a panic buy in Voltemora. We've wasted it on a player that we didn't need, Ramsey, who probably is the one player who looks half decent, but it's not the player that we needed. We didn't need that kind of midfielder. We needed a creative midfielder. And then Ramsdale. Okay, we need another keeper to come in. We've spent a lot of money on him coming in this season. He's not our permanent goalkeeper, of course. We can get rid of him. And we brought in Cadero as well, a youngster who, can't get a loan. He's gone out on his second loan of the season. So maybe he's not the player that Newcastle United thought it was. But I mean, just the players we brought in just haven't been good enough. Wisser, of course, got that injury at the start of the season. Many of the Brentford fans that are online, and I know Alan goes on to these other podcasts, a lot of them saying, why are we playing Wisser up front? He's a winger. He scored a lot of his goals from the wing. He's not a forward. A lot of people can't understand that. And of course, we're playing Alanga in a system which he's alien to him. He wasn't playing to one person up front last season. It's doom and gloom, unfortunately. And as a Newcastle fan, we shouldn't really be feeling like this. But I think we've papered over the cracks. We have papered over the cracks over the last few months. Our away form's a massive concern. We've got points away at places where we didn't get points before, but we've had too many 0-0 draws, too many draws away from home. And when you get one against a bottom team who's going to be playing in the Championship last season, really, that's the disappointing thing. That is the disappointing thing for me. So I'll not continue on that. I'm going to hand it over to the lads. But I had to get it off my chest because, like everybody else, I'm feeling a bit disappointed, a bit down and a bit hurt this weekend. And with no light at the end of the tunnel with a transfer window, I think, Newcastle United, unless there's a sudden about turn, are really going to struggle to get anything out of this season, and that's disappointing. When you look at how poor this division is, I would say this division is probably as poor as it was in the year that Leicester won the league. Anybody putting a good run together this season could have won the league. Newcastle, Villa, would be in the runners and riders normally. Manchester United, a half decent Manchester United could probably win this league. So it's open, it's up for grabs, and Newcastle really are not one of the runners and riders. And my prediction was 5th in the FA Cup. I can't see us winning a trophy this season now, and I genuinely can't see us finishing in the top 5. I'm hoping for a European slot. I'm hoping that we'll get a little bit of luck comes our way. But yeah, disappointing for me. That's my opinion. Alan, how are you feeling?
Well, Steve, I'll go back to the summer, and like I say about Isaac leaving, it's left a massive morale boosting drop in performance. But yesterday was absolutely dreadful, like you've already pointed out. The positives for me, Steve, are Lewis Hall. I think he's playing outstanding. Joe Linton's good. Miley is good. But barring them players that are really pulling their weight, Pope was okay. The back four, Botman was okay with Chow. But apart from them players, Gordon and Tonali is my major worry. Them two players, their performance levels have dropped off a cliff. Absolutely dropped off a cliff. And like I was saying to Darren before we came on air, the three players that came off were the right players to come off. But obviously, if you want to attack the game, you keep your forward on and bring another forward on to have two up front. Well, that wasn't the case. I was a bit taken aback by the amount of criticism Elanga got from yesterday, where I thought he had one of his better games, like you pointed out, Steve. But no, it was absolutely dreadful. Going forward, Steve, we've got more away games. In fact, we're playing away more than Elizabeth Taylor in February, and really, it's looking grim. It really is. Our fixture list is absolutely horrendous going forward. I predicted 9th in the start of the season, Steve. Sorry. And we're 8th now, so on the positive side, it's better. And we're in a better position than I thought would be. But all you outlined was true, what you've just said there, Steve. Baldomora couldn't head a beach ball. Wizza couldn't trap a bag of cement. You know, the two forwards were bought for 120 odd million. I mean, really, lads. I mean, you go back 3-4 months when you put a question to us on the fans forum, Steve, how many goals Baldomora was going to score? And a large amount of people on here were saying 20, 21 and 23. And I said 14 and Always said 16. And I thought to myself, if he scores more than 14, Steve, this year, he'll have to go on a hell of a good run.
What did I say?
I can't remember. But a lot,
it wasn't high. It wasn't high.
Three or four people on here said 20 plus.
Not me. I said 14, 15 if he's lucky.
Right. Well, to be honest, he's looking at a very expensive George Riley to me at the minute, lads, because his confidence has shot to bits. And that's a bad indication of how we've signed. I don't go as far as that, Steve, about Eddie Howe's jobs on the line. I don't think so. But if the powers that be in the press that's on the case in social media, what gets me is everybody's got the right to say Eddie Howe out, but nobody says who they want. Nobody comes out and say this player, this manager is good enough to be Newcastle. Because let's face it, lads, would a Tuchel actually come here? Would Ancelotti actually come to Newcastle United? Because they're restrained by the PSR restrictions. Eddie Howe has got the 4th, 5th and 7th in the last 3 years. Now, name people who have got genuine opinions of thinking Eddie Howe out. That's fine. But say who you want in then. Say after Eddie Howe out, I would like Glaciers away at the end of the season. Does people want him? Has he done anything in the Premier League? He's won the FA Cup. But has he done anything in the Premier League? You're actually having a stab in the dark to what you actually know. I'll give him, if it's the same thing next year, Steve, I'd see it right. You've had your chance, Eddie, to sort it out in the summer. But I do believe it was a perfect storm in the summer. And I do believe it's all went wrong. Next month's going to be very, very hard for all. I'll let it go now, Steve. But like we all, absolutely dreadful. Darren was there, so he'll be able to tell you what the feelings were. But I'm not all doom and gloom.
Make no bones about it. I'm not Eddie Howe out, but what I am saying is that his job is based on a results business, and the result at the moment, and to hear him yesterday, I think what probably wound a lot of people up was his interview at the end. Not bad. 10 was it 9 or 10 points out the last 12, and I'm thinking, honestly, you can say that, but it's the performances, and it's the way that we're performing, and the performances what we know we're getting away with it, and we can see what's on the horizon. We can see Man City away, we can see Liverpool away, we can see Arsenal away, we can see all of these fixtures looming on the horizon, and we're thinking, you can't think the worst. Listen, Eddie's done it before, but I just doubt whether he can do it again on this occasion, because I don't think that there's a different atmosphere around the club. There's a different atmosphere around that squad and team. It's an aging squad, it's an aging team as well, but it's just so frustrating that he's doing things time and time again. Darren, you were at the game. Give us your take on it, mate.
Well, it all started when my brother had a strawberry milkshake, Steve, going down, so that kind of ruined the game. About the game, first half, yes, we had a possession, but realistically, we didn't. Yes, we got balls in the box. Baltimore, how we missed that header is beyond me. They went Barnes triple crossed it in. I was direct line, and how to me, he should do better than that. Confident or no confident, if you're forward, you would tap that freaking ball, no matter what. And he didn't attack it. He messed his hair up and went out for a goal kick. And Botman Chow, they're all like under control. Really, Nick Pope done what he needed to do. Lewis Hall's probably man of the match in my eyes.
Yeah. Same here.
Trippier's done. He got done too many times. Ball watching and his pace is to me. And you probably want to rest Miley. Some strange reason, but as long as Miley's playing on a Wednesday. But Trippier's finished for me. But I think we're going to make do with him till the end of the season. Gordon, his hair looked good, but his performance was shit. Harvey Barnes, he's done all right. He kept coming in. He crossed a few good balls. We saw, well, he got caught offside. He still got beat to the bar, which it baffles me that. And he's at half time. We were sitting around, a few people around, having a bit of chat, and we all, I think, what Father said, what time do you think the subs will be? And I was like, that's like 65, so I was quite chuffed for that one. So as soon as said 63, 65, 64, 67, 69, we all said in the 60 minutes, and we all named the subs that will come on. Now, like, that's worrying, right? If fans know, the opposition team's going to know. If the ones to win the game, you've got a young lad called Sean Nees on the pitch, on the bench. Bring him on, give him a chance. Let him show. Instead of playing the 4-3-3, it's not working. I just don't think, and he sees, he's going to be a good player. He's not giving him a chance. It's frustrating because you go that way and you play rubbish. I was deflated to come back last night, but it's the way it is. You know how see that's what he's paid. That's what we do. Through thick and thin, we're going away days of watching them. I would do it tomorrow. I'll still go and watch them again. I'm going to Liverpool. I'm going to Manchester, Tottenham. So it's in my blood. But just frustrated how we're playing, and like Alan said, I'm sick of these people saying Eddie Howe out. If you're going to see out, who the fuck do you get then? It's not a noise.
Yeah,
it really is. Instead of saying out, who do you get? And then everyone, that's for the powers to be. Well, you said out. Who do you want? You're not going to get a big manager. You're going to get new ones available. Eddie Howe got let down by Newcastle United at the start of the season by not getting the sporting director in.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's down to Newcastle United for looking the right people in the first place. And a lot of people don't say that. Yes, we're not playing good. Yes, we're not doing great. But at the start of the season, who knows were these players actually Eddie Howe signings? Was Voldemort Eddie Howe signing? I don't think it was. I don't think Eddie Howe wanted Voldemort. I'm convinced by that. Because he likes his pace, and Voldemort's not a pacey player. Mm-hmm. That's my rant away, Steve.
Okay, Magnus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange feeling coming from like 4-3 thrillers and 3-3 thrillers to an absolute death and a lack of creativity. I mean, lack of creativity against Wolves is definitely very worrying. Um, and I mean, I think we just need to bring Supermark and Alan Shearer to the training ground because, you know, I remember their slogans, you know, get into the box and don't be afraid to shoot. You know,
Yeah.
none of these things are happening. You know, we are getting good crossings. You know, I like crossings, but I mean, nobody's at the end of them. And it was a great chance to get up to fifth place, and we completely screwed it. I mean, what you said earlier about the lack of plan B. I mean, why didn't we do a plan B as we did against Bournemouth and swap to 4-2-3-1 with Walter Matti a little bit behind Vissa? I mean, that's definitely something different. And 4-4-2 in the times of desperation. I mean, Wolves were struggling defending, especially crossings and headers before that game. And all that, it's like they already just listened to one podcast and thought like, okay, we need to up our game in heading and defending from crossings, and that's what they did. They did really well. I mean, I'm really upset about this game. This was a complete lost opportunity. It didn't seem like they were playing for each other. I really can't understand why we don't have why a certain winger that isn't scoring still gets to play and put our top goal scorer on the wrong side all the time. You know, so I'm not happy. I mean, we definitely need to be buying some. I mean, if we're bringing back Matt Target, I mean, why are we not buying anybody? Everybody's buying somebody. I really need, like, okay, I'll go back to Kevin Keegan when he was in and around the Champions League. You know, one of his regrets was to not invest in January. He didn't buy a top goalkeeper. We would have probably won the league back then. We need to invest right now. And the sooner the better.
Okay, lots of comments coming in. Tom, we'll come to you next, mate. Yeah, I mean, listen, it is doom and gloom again, and we've been on a roller coaster. You know, there's been little glimpses of hope, and again, you know, people can point and say, well, we're still in the running with 4 competitions. You know, that's just one result. We've got a 0-0 draw down there, and Wolves are on a decent run, but that had all the hallmarks of what we saw at Man United. Newcastle probably, you know, haven't gone to Man United in my time as a Newcastle fan and bossed it like we did at Old Trafford, yet we came away with a 1-0 defeat. That's why I think people are getting frustrated. Tom?
Yeah, it was a bore fest yesterday. I'm not going to be quite as negative as the other people on the panel or maybe some people in the audience. You know, the thing is we have a tough time breaking down a team that has 10 men behind the ball, and we've had that issue for quite some time. And yesterday I was watching the match. The only one that's moving when they're off the ball, the only movement off the ball is Harvey Barnes. Everybody else is kind of sitting static, and it just frustrates me a little bit. Frustrates me a lot is that if you're going to play against someone with 9 men behind the ball, and they have 5 across the back, and they have 4 in front of them between each player. If you're not moving to try to pull some of those players out of position, you're not going to be able to get a cross in. You're not going to be able to get a shot. You're not going to be able to break it down. And it's interesting is that Pep's team on Saturday was having the exact same issue, right? Breaking down this, it's tough to break down that defense, but the way to do it is through movement and one-touch passes. And, you know, we've seen that happen. So I don't blame the players, although it takes no talent to hustle, right? So if we're going to put some passion in, play for the badge, it's nice to see that. Botman, I think, was the only one that had a play all day that I thought was over and above what we would have expected of him as far as the passion was concerned. So all that being said is I get frustrated. Darren is 100% right. I've said it here a lot of times is we can predict what Eddie's substitutions are going to be before the match starts. I also agree with Darren that Trippier is a liability defensively. He's certainly a leader on the pitch. He certainly has some creative ideas. He's got the thing, but he's got 35-year-old legs that, quite frankly, if he makes any stab at the ball at all, he's toast, and that exposes a slow defense behind him. So I say I'm not going to be negative, and I sounded negative everything that I said right then. So, but I want to talk a little bit positively is that if we get a result on Wednesday and another result next weekend, guess what? We're in the Champions League top half. We're in the next round. We know that we're going to be in 5th, 6th place in the European positions. All is not lost, right? We just need to put performances in. And this run of games, we have a tough run of games coming up, but we actually play better against these type of teams that aren't going to be 9 behind the ball. So
that's really positive, Tom. I agree with you there, Tom.
Yeah, I think it's going to be run and gun football, and I think that actually plays to the strength that we have and our speed, etc. So I'm not going to say that the season is lost. I'm not going to say that we're not going to be in European spots or be in a cup final or win a cup. I think that we're going to be who we are, and I think who we are is not quite as good as I thought we were going to be. That's just the facts. I thought that we would be better by this time, but we have a 7th choice striker up front. Voldemort he's a fine player. He's not a number 9. He would work in a lot of different systems against a lot of different play. But the one thing I could say he's not going to work in is against someone who's 9 behind the ball. That's just not his play. He's got to be out there and have people running the channels. And if there's no channels to run, it's not going to work. He scored a couple good headers earlier in the year. I think we forget about that. I think Joe Linton actually missed easier ones. But Joe Linton is another one like Barnes. At least he moves. It gets me frustrated when I see Anthony Gordon staying on the side, not doing anything, and say, give me the ball, and then I'm going to try to skin somebody. And then he looks at it and then runs inside. It's so predictable. So I would just like the one thing I really liked about Asula is he was so unpredictable. He was unpredictable to everybody, including his own teammates. But you know what? Something like that could break down a teammate or break down a team, and an athleticism like that puts people on their back foot. So I'm not really blaming the players. They're complacent, didn't hustle. But you know what? I think that comes from the manager, the coach. I think that comes from the coaching staff. I think that comes from how they set up. I think that comes from knowing who's going to be substituted when. We are just a very boring team at the moment. And I think it's really, I don't want Eddie out either. I just want some creativity and some spark invested into the locker room. And if that's not Eddie, then I'm okay to see Eddie go. I'm not saying he's out, but I think that he can do better. And I think complacency is the enemy of any successful club. You have to get better. So I said I wasn't going to be negative. This is mostly negative, but where we're sitting is not the end of the world. We can be okay. We can be okay. The one thing I would say is, according to my calendar, it's January 19th. Why the heck do we not have a player in it now? We know we were short on defense at the beginning of the window. And Steve, you said, how can we not have money to spend? Of course we have money to spend. But they think it's better value in the summer. But I tell you what, if we don't get another defender in, Trippier is not the solution. Miley can play there. What's the matter with Tonali? I don't know. Sometimes when you have a new baby, you get homesick. You take your eye off the ball. Maybe the wife isn't as happy, with things going on. But Miley needs to be on the pitch, and he showed that he's certainly better than Trips back there. So, but better yet, let's bring someone in that can play center back and play full back. And there's certainly players out there that can do that. So just a wake-up call for the guys, and hopefully wake-up call to the club to get some reinforcements in.
Okay, cheers, Tom. Kev, this situation really that's developing at Newcastle is frustrating. I think a lot of people referred to the fact that Newcastle didn't have a shot yesterday, until like very late in the game. A reluctance to shoot from outside the box, too much sideways passing, backwards and sideways, but nothing going forward. And then the predictable 3 substitutions, altogether, which, again is so, so predictable. And I think that's what's frustrating people, that we've come off the back of a couple of goal fests at St James's Park, and when a team has a go at us, there's a different side to Newcastle. But when we're playing against a low block, we're just incapable of breaking it down, and that's got to be a coaching issue. And it's not just Eddie Howe, but Jason Tindall and the rest of the guys stand on the sidelines there all have to hold their hands up and say, well, we haven't been able to crack it yet.
Couldn't put it better myself, to be honest. Basically, the phrase from what I was watching that shit show yesterday and listening to everybody else before me, is basically the one we're on the verge of insanity at this point. It's the same things over and over again, and we're not getting results. And you can look back through the shows that I've done. Maybe a year and a bit ago, when Eddie Howe got appointed, I even said it'll be a good 2.5 years, then you'll see a huge decline of his own performance and the performance of team. Look at his Bournemouth team where it went down. It played wonderful football first year and a half, 2 years. Second year stagnated. The year that he got relegated, defensive issues, couldn't score goals. Got defensive issues, we can't score goals. But when we play again, so I'll go to the game. When we play against a team with a low block, we played into Wolves' hands yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely played into their hands. We go, like you said, we went side to side. It was slow. It was predictable. It was methodical. There was no ideas. It was, well, I'll just play into there. We'll have a little bit of movement, maybe non-existent. Yes, scream for the ball, shout for it. But
it was called safe passing, wasn't it?
It was very, very safe. And it was, and like I said, Darren, and that's the creativity of what we need.
We were shouting out. We were shouting out, getting the ball in the box. There was like safe passing. That's what it was.
Even if you do that, you've got. I mean, I was screaming at the TV yesterday. You got Joe Linton 6 yards out. You had Baltimore 6 yards out. Even Joe Linton missed a bloody ball from 1.5 yards. How does that happen? You know what I mean? So there's a disconnect between our middle third to our attacking third. Yes, you can put crosses in all day as long as you got where the sun doesn't shine. But if you got nobody there, like I agree with you, what you said about Whistler and Baltimore or whatever, their movement's got to be better with Anthony Gordon making a run round the back to create that third man run round the backside. What I was taught as a wide man to get round there. However, we like I said, we played in the Wolves' hands, and it happened against Palace. We got away with it against Palace. We won, but at the same time, they were just knocking it into space because they knew when we were playing high with a high possession-based game and against the low block, if you give that ball away, you'll just dump it into little areas where they have players in certain areas where they know they're going to be in a 1v1 and nobody will stretch us. So Malik Chow has to come across, and you've got whoever either side, Fabian Shaw at the time, then we get stretched. That's the problem. Then you have those players with pace with opposition just running directly at us at our back against Nick Pope, and then problems occur, and then everybody's tracking back. What does that happen? What does that come into? That exudes energy because you're up and down. You're up and down. You're like cross-country running. I'm telling you, if you're doing leg running all day, you're doing this, that, and the other, that'll get you at some point. And your energy is your sap from your game against Man City, pretty much the same team, and that your energy's gone. And you're playing a possession-based game when you got no quality in the final third. And again, I just stood there with my arms like this. I just stood. I was silent. It was a miracle I was silent. And I was thinking, is any chance of anybody going to have a shot at goal today? We will be playing now, and we'll still not score with nobody there. That's how bad it is.
Try being there and watching them.
Oh, no, Darren, I feel sorry for you. I genuinely do. I have literally the mail you put in to watch that garbage. But but for me, the bigger problem is there's something internal what we can't put our finger on of what's actually happening in the dressing room. I think there's something genuinely went on.
I'll agree. Something's not right.
I think it might be like some blue chip players running the show and deciding which wing they want to be on.
It's a player driven game these days. Look at Maresca at Chelsea. It's a player driven game. They're going to just say, I'll just down tools and just the manager will get done and I'll just see my contract out and get my money. That's how the game's going or is. But for me, it's the lack of creativity offensively. Yeah. It's damning to what we're actually performing. And yes, we might keep a clean sheet. I think I went to goal either way, 1-0, 2-1 or something like that. There wasn't, I couldn't see us getting many. But again, it's going to, I think it was Tom's, whoever's point, having the desire to go and score goals, having the desire to go and play on the front foot. I always tell my kids I coach, people I coach, play on the front foot. That doesn't mean you run around press high all the time. No. That means you have an intent to go and play football. You have
like Bruno does every game, you know?
Sorry? Yeah, but he should have scored, but he whiffed at it and put it into the game.
At least he tries, man. That's what I meant.
I can try and go to the bathroom and have a shit, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work. I mean, you know what I mean? It's again, it's
the desire.
Insanity.
I know. Bruno's looking for free kicks, though. Bruno, a lot of the times yesterday, Bruno's going too easy and looking for a free kick, and the referee knows what he's doing. So Bruno needs to stop doing that. Bruno wasn't great yesterday. Didn't we get to start praising Bruno? He wasn't great yesterday. He was shocking.
Yeah, he wasn't great. You know, he's taking a lot on his shoulders, I feel, anyway.
So I'm not an Eddie Howe out, but he's on a very, 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 very short rope at this point.
Yeah.
And the person who I would go after is the lad, and just to coin Alan Trays, nobody's going to say anything. I'll chuck my neck on the line to say, well, let's go and get Areola from Bournemouth, because his teams have a bit of fight and they play good football. And look what he's done with that team, which has been decimated through transfers. Which look, it is what it is, you know. So he's up there for me in terms of the desire and the way they play football. They're solid defensively, they work hard, they play attractive football. Yes, they might not have a goal scorer, but I would have Evan Nielsen's another shout for a centre forward, by the way. He's not bad. So there's somebody to put the hat in the ring. He's Premier League experience, and he seems tactically astute of what he's going to do. So yeah, that was my glowing assessment of that lot yesterday.
Yeah, congratulations to Darren, who's won a meal from Tom when he visits the UK, for interrupting Kev. I am aware that some people in the chat don't like it when Darren interrupts Kev. So in the secret chat that we have, away from everybody else, Tom said that if he interrupted him, he would buy him a meal on his visit to the UK.
Thought something, you know. Some of the things I've got to question some of the things you say. Something.
But it's always Kev. It's always Kev.
Well
anyway,
relationship.
I've got thick skin, Steve. It's all right. It's all good.
I know, mate. I know. As long as you know
well said, Kev. You've mentioned the manager. That's all I want to hear. I don't mind people having opinions about who they want Eddie Howe out, but name managers. You know, it's all right saying Tuchel and this. Would they come with the restrictions we're under? You've got, you know, you're living in fantasy land. We think we can get people like Ancelotti. I would like Tuchel, but I don't think he'll ever come here because of the restrictions we're under.
He went to Everton now.
Okay. Pablo, over to you, mate.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think probably going into the Wolves game yesterday, looking at the team sheet, looking at what Eddie was telling us prior to the game about us being invigorated and up for it and mentally on our game, I kind of felt, you know what? I mean, Wolves is always going to be a tough game because they've had an upturn in form recently. Tough place to go when they're on song. I mean, I've been down there many a times actually watching Wolves with a pal. And then I think with the way it kind of unfolds, and I think, in fact, I'm going to stop myself there because I've just reminded myself of something. I think the disconnect from, the Eddie Howe conversations that we're having at the minute, the biggest thing for me is when I hear that from Eddie Howe pre-game, I'm up in the gods. I think, come on, boys, we're up for this. And then after the game, when he assesses it the way he does, you kind of feel like he's pissing down your back and it's raining. He's disconnected from, I think, the real working man's or woman's opinion on the street. And he's filling us with this drivel about a certain level of performance and keeps using these fancy words with safe passing. I think just a little bit more honesty from Eddie would go a long way with our fan base, certainly with me anyway. So I think that's Eddie Howe sorted. First 20 minutes, look at the positives. We've come away with a clean sheet, We've defended our goal well. Up until the very final third, we are safe. I think in any walk of life, in any level of football, whether it be Sunday League football, Premier League football, World Cup football, if you're playing a team that's bottom of the league, 8 points adrift of its competitors, and it takes you 86 minutes to register a shot on goal, then things and questions need to be asked, at any level. And I think when you look at the way the game unfolded, there is a massive element of truth in what we're saying. We're holding on to the ball too long in the final third. We have no confidence going forward, which then leads me on to, what's happening up front. The reason why we're holding on to it for too long in that final third, the two wingers, the midfielders, because there is no outlet. There is no movement. There is nothing to aim to. There's nobody really to hold it up. Brings me on to Walter Mardy. And what I want to say is I have nothing against the guy. He's a lovely lad. In a different setting, it's not his fault. He's been thrust into this position. He is not a centre forward. We have wasted the majority of our basket on a striker that us as fans now, we're coming up to February and we've been making excuses, and rightly so, because we want to see the best from these guys. We want to give them chance. But we're 6-7 months deep now, and I've been banging on about Walter Mardy for a while, probably going against the grain in early days of opinion. I can see he is not a Premier League footballer. He never will be. The lad will go to Spain or Italy and probably bag a hatful every week. It's simple. The Premier League is so fast. It's so robust. It's different than any other in the world. When you have a guy at 6'7", what you forgive, he's got no pace, clearly. If you look at the stature of the guy, the way he runs, he looks awkward running. So he's going to have no pace. He's got no movement. He's got nothing. You look at physicality, he's 6'7". Harvey Barnes heads a ball better than him, for Christ's sake. Look at the basic facts of what you're seeing in front of you. And I'm not going off. I can support the guy all day long, but at some point, the truth has got to be told on him. And we'll get on to Wissa in a minute. And ultimately, we're talking about the top third of the pitch. So these guys, we've got to call responsible. And ultimately, it's the club who's put them in that position by going wanking 70 million on let's face it, a pot shot. Because then the next level of problem is recruitment. We clearly didn't have any clue, and we have got no foresight as to what's going on. There are reasons for that. I get that. But where we sit as a football team to keep pumping that guy up front and expecting different results, even in the warm-up in our chat, I highlighted it, a little bit of banter. He couldn't even score in the shooting drills. And that's with no pressure on him, no defenders around him, no nothing. He was putting him in stand probably onto Darren's head. And that's the warm-up. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that ultimately we've got to take responsibility. Recruitment's a big part of it. Yeah. We bought Walter Mardy as fans. We were making excuses going, well, maybe he's a number 10. Maybe we're going to change style. Bollocks. Eddie's never going to change his style. He's got one style and one style only. And unfortunately for us, it isn't working. It's not going to work this year, unfortunately. I think we have been, like Steve, like you said, we've had paper over cracks in the past few weeks because the performances have been shite. And I said it last week. But what we did see was that kind of effort, was that kind of guile, and we got through games, and results do paper over cracks. Because ultimately, a football game is 90 minutes. It's only going to last so long, and that's going to run out. Your luck's going to run out at some point. And I think the Wolves game for me was a huge disappointment because I was hoping we'd kick on and use them, them past kind of results we've had in the past 2 weeks to really kick on. But I think when we get to Wissa, Wissa was, I think the real fans knew that Walter Mardy was not the answer up there. So we were hoping the second coming of Christ of Wissa, when he come back from injury. Absolute shite. I'll say it now. He is shit. He's had several opportunities. He doesn't look confident even striking a ball. I mean, fair play, he might be a wide forward. You bought a 29-year-old player for 30, 40 million pounds. I think somebody should have been scouting Kevin Schade. I'd go on about him constantly. Yeah. Wissa, before Brentford, look at his CV. I played at his level in French League 2 or wherever it was. He had no CV to back up that he was going to come in and be Jesus Christ the Saviour. So ultimately now, I am frustrated, but it's plain to see they're not Premier League footballers that we require to take us to the next level. And unfortunately, we're reaping what we sow. Probably that's about it, mate. Ran over. But other than that, I'm Eddie in, but come on, son, sort it out.
Well said, Pablo. Well said.
Well said, bravo.
Yeah.
Adam, it's never easy going last. What have you got to add?
More shite, Adam?
Well, I was going to try and be positive, but for me, lads, I'm in the same.
Adam, be positive.
I painted the wall and watched that instead. Could watch that dry instead because that was more. For me, I think Eddie Howe's run out of ideas. Personally, I think Kev said it earlier. Look at Bournemouth. If we were shit as what Bournemouth were back then, we'd be in a relegation scrap as well, I think. You look at him when the camera pans on him, Jason Tyndall and Graham Jones just standing there chatting. I think they're all asking each other what to do. I honestly think he's run out of ideas, and I am Eddie Howe in. Eddie changed my mind. That's why I am like Eddie changed my mind into not thinking we need to look somewhere else. Obviously, Alan was saying name people. For me, I'm a big Oliver Glasner fan. I think what he done at Palace. Again, Ariola, what Kev was saying before. But then is it the same process of what's happened with Thomas Frank at Spurs? Everyone thought Thomas Frank was the man going to Spurs, and look how that's turned out. And we kind of just go chopping and changing managers and things like that. But because that's the risk that it runs. Obviously, Thomas Frank was meant to be the saviour for Tottenham after Ange, and look how that's going. I mean, for me, I was more focused on the game of football, actually watching the game of football yesterday, and how much football is just boring in general at the minute. Like, who's that person that's going to strike it from 25, 30 yards and try and rattle the keeper from that far out? And for me, like, even football from even grassroots level all the way up into the Premier League now, it's so robotic and boring. There's no creativity, there's no freedom, there's nothing. And I think that's where a lot of the teams are suffering this season, not just Newcastle. If we'd won yesterday, like Magnus was saying before, we're 1 point away from Champions League top four. And we're all on here today buzzing that we're like, get in four wins off the bounce, this, that, and you that. And that's the same. We're having the same season as most teams in the Prem, but obviously we know it's more for Newcastle because it's our club. I think we have lost our identity of being the shithouses of the league. That when Eddie Howe first came in, we were the shithouses and it was mint to watch. And there was a banner, I think it was, we're not sure be liked or something, we had take or whatever it was. And for me, that was what identity then. That was what Newcastle United was starting to turn back into. It was, right, well, we're going to do the things that annoy you most. And look how much it rattled Man United in that documentary when Eddie Howe was like, right, let's go and give it to them. And we were slowing the game. I know there's rules in place now where you can't slow the game down, do different things. But surely a team full of professional coaches and professional players can do a bit of learning and go, well, that's how we can do it. That's how we can be shithouses in different ways. And that's what we've lost. And you can go about signings. For me, Wissa and Voldemort are absolute tosh, to be honest. Like, I think the panic buys, and I've never, like, I know Voldemort has scored his 9 goals, whatever he has, but I've never been convinced. And Wissa, I think he's not got Mbeumo in his side anymore, giving them goals, And I said it a few weeks ago to Steve, when it's turned stale, and it is continuing to be stale. I think how many years ago it was now when they took over and you had Amanda Stavely and my dad in charge. They're gone now, and I think that's what's got rid of the flame within the takeover, them two leaving. I'll be there Wednesday, and like what Darren says, we all turn up and we all go because we're all daft enough to go and do it. But for me, it's very, very stale at the minute, Steve.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And lots of great comments in the chat. As you know, Monday night, we always feel difficult to get into the chat to show you things, but it's all been on the screen anyway. 10 minutes to go then on the show. We're going to just have a quick chat about the two games coming up and get the lads' opinions. Adam, I'll let you go first as you had to wait. So we've got the two games coming up. We've got the Champions League game, of course, against PSV midweek, and then we'll play Aston Villa at the weekend. Two tough games. How do you see those two games going?
PSV on Wednesday, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. I think at home under the lights, I think PSV, they're not going to really cause a challenge. But then again, we thought that about Wolves yesterday, not causing much. And look how that turned out a little bit. Villa, I think Villa are miles ahead of us this season, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 loss.
Okay. Pablo.
I think I've just been having a quick scout at PSV. I mean, they certainly know how to put the ball in the net. Just tough one, isn't it? Because you're coming straight off watching that against Wolves, and I can't see how we can beat a Sunday League team. But in reality, there will be a reaction. There will be a regroup. I think we'll come away with a result against PSV. You know, due to and that's only based on technically the Premier League has a better standing than the Dutch league. So I think maybe a 1-0 win against PSV. It's a tough one with Villa. Villa are doing very, very, very well. I mean, he is the epitome of a shrewd customer, is their manager, isn't he? And I believe he was interviewed for the job with Eddie. You know, if there's any truth in that. So I don't know if there's going to be comparisons there, but I can't see us beating Aston Villa, mate. You know, and I keep harping on about it in our chat. Aston Villa are 15th in the Premier League XP, but yet they sit third in the league. So that's how far stats go in the game sometimes. No, I can't see us beating Villa, mate. I hate saying it, but I think Villa will turn us over.
Okay, Kev. To you, Kev.
Based on the way we play, I think. Can you hear me?
We can, mate. We can.
Yeah.
Slight delay.
My internet's a bit in now, sorry. Let me come back. Let me jump out and come back in real quick.
Okay, mate. Okay, Tom, we'll come to you.
Well, I'm going to remain positive as I can be, is that Gordon gets a hat trick on Wednesday. He seems to get up for these kind of games, right? The Champions League games. For whatever reason, why he plays different in those matches than he does in other matches, I'll never know. But I think we will sneak a win at home. And I think we match up good with Villa. I think it's going to be running back and forth. It's going to be an open field, open match. And, whoever can take their chances is going to win that match. And so I'll bet on us to win that, to take our chances for once. So I'm going to go for 2 straight wins, 6 goals scored between the two. So I think we'll probably win 2-1 on Wednesday and 4-3. Look at that, 4-3 on Sunday.
Okay. You're back with us, Kev. We're coming back to you, mate.
Like it.
Like I we're saying, the way we play is based on a Champions League type of game. Very possession-based, very edgy, very cagey. We'll suss each other out. Yes, PSV are flying. I mean, they've only been beaten once, and that was off Atletico Madrid or whenever it was, way back when. So, whatever. The Dutch league is not the greatest league in the world, but still they've got to beat teams in front of them. Again, I'll go. I think I don't know where goals are coming from. That's the problem. So I think we'll sneak a 1-0 against PSV and solidify that knockout phase moving forward. And the Villa one, and I agree with Pablo, they're going to have probably a big response in the Premier League after getting beat off Everton yesterday. So I think we'll probably get beat 2 or 3-0.
Okay, Magnus.
Yes, I have to kind of be consistent with my predictions in the Icelandic podcast over here. And I am feeling positive as well. You know, at the end of the day, this was still a clean sheet away from home, and we have 10 points of the last 12. Regardless of anything, it was the only positive thing that I can find. PSV, I think we're going to win them. We're going to have a great defensive performance, and we're going to sneak in 2 goals. It's a 2-0 for me. That would be enough to qualify, and will be a little bit of a strange last game of the Champions League. However, on Sunday, I'll be attending to this game with another 20 Icelanders, and I am having nothing less than a victory, man. I expect another basketball game like against Leeds, and I'll have the biggest thrill of my life. But we will definitely do our best in roaring the team forward, and I am forecasting a 3-2 thriller. See you all next weekend. I'm going to attend to the Supermarket Gippo gathering as well. So see you all. Don't be a stranger. Approach us if you see us, and don't be a stranger. We're going to have a great time.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Daz? Go on, Kevin. Interrupt him.
But one, actually, the only thing I'll agree with Kev on, I can't see us scoring a goal against. I don't know where the goals are coming from because we're shit up front at the minute. 1-0 win Wednesday if we're lucky. And
what do you mean by lucky, Darren?
What? And on Sunday, I can't say it's winning. No, most I can hope for would be a draw, 1-1, if we can score. But it'll be hard. Villa's a good team and we're not very good.
Okay, we started with Alan. We'll finish with Alan tonight. Over to you, mate.
I'm like majority of the lads. I think we'll beat PSV 2-1. But Villa, I'm going 2-2, Steve, because Villa could have easily won that game yesterday 5-2. Rodgers worries me to death. I would love him in our team. Morgan Rodgers. He was phenomenal. He had 4 or 5 chances to score yesterday, Steve. It could have been 5-2 to Villa against Everton. So Villa will come back strong. I'm hoping we're doing, because if Villa don't beat one Sunday, they never will, because our morale is at the lowest ever, and their performance up here is horrendous. Their record is absolutely horrendous, but the team they've got so far this season has been playing tremendous. So I'll go with Sophie in the comments. 2-1 to us at the PSV, 2-2 on Sunday. But if we get anything more than that, Steve, we've done very, very well.
Okay, good stuff. I'm jumping on to the word on Blake 7. Good day today for Blake 7 fans. The announcement of a new series coming up in 2028. So they are remaking Blake 7, the BBC. Fantastic news. So I'm doing the podcast tonight, 7 to 8, with my usual crew on the Word on Blake 7 channel. So jump over there and subscribe. Thanks to Adam, to Pablo, to Tom, to Kevin, to Magnus, to Darren, Alan, everybody in the chat. Back 4 o'clock tomorrow with Ask George. Look forward to seeing you all then. Take care, guys.
Hey, boys.
Cheers, lads.
All the best.
Thank you. Take care.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. And a thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel, UK Coach Holidays, established 2020. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2026 tours, 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges, hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Website www.unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174.